Hey guys, this is Tuesday's video. We have three main things to cover in this video. The first thing is just some administrative reminders about your discussion post, which is due today. The second thing is I'm going to show you a few more examples of proposals and talk more about the content that goes in them and how to write that content, leading into the third thing, which is Jack pages 50 to 51 about source inclusion. Okay, let's just jump into a reminder about the discussion post. So this one here, due for today at 6 p.m., is the first paragraph of your proposal. The proposal should be 2 paragraphs roughly, and again, 250 to 300 words. So you go through the same process that you did for the annotated bib when posting your peer editing. You go into the discussion. Let's say that I am Chase. Then you hit reply, and this is again by 6 p.m. tonight. Browse my computer, and then you find your file, attach it, and then tomorrow's discussion you will respond to your peers. As you can see down here on discussion 8. So I already have everything uploaded to make your job a little bit easier to post your discussions whenever you have some free time. So just peer editing number 2, it's the same rules, requirements as the first peer editing. Most of you did an excellent job with that first peer editing. You gave each other very specific productive feedback. So that will be just make it a pattern to be specific with your feedback. Don't have vague feedback, because that's kind of the worst type of feedback. So good job there. Keep up the good work, etc. Go back into discussion 8, find your group, and post the response. For the people who only have 2 in your group this time, it doesn't need to be a full half page. Just make it 3 to 4 context driven or good sentences, essentially. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to talk about a bad example of a proposal. So there are 5 good examples online, 2 of them from students, 3 that I've used in the real world, like I mentioned in yesterday's video. Now we're going to look at basically kind of the worst proposal I've ever graded to show you an opposite end of the spectrum. So here, let's just start at the beginning. The student didn't have a name. That's already a bad start, especially if it were for a panel or a conference. As I mentioned here, they wouldn't know your ethos. They wouldn't know what organization you're associated with, etc. So it just affects your ethos, those small things like that. So again, just put your name on your papers. Okay, so as you can see here, it's short. It's too short. So I pull out the words. It's 141 out of 250, and I put again the minimum and the maximum to make it clear to the student that she's not within the range. And then she does have 2 paragraphs. That one's not indented, so already it's just sloppy. So I'm reading through it, and we're going to go through each comment just so I can tell you guys. And I am sometimes kind of snarky with my comments. It's not a personal attack by any means. It's just if they are, a lot of times in my experience, if they are like too kind, then students think that I'm okay with you not revising what's going on. So I've tried to just be very clear, and I don't have a lot of hedging words like, oh, I think that blah, blah, blah. No, I'm making it clear and to the point. So you have to read less words, and also you know what's the most important thing to change. So if they seem kind of blunt and stern, it's for those reasons, not because I'm angry or personally attacking your writing. That's not the case at all. All right, so the first paragraph is already kind of a bummer, because throughout American history, so that phrase alone shouldn't be in your papers, shouldn't be in your proposal, anything like that, because there's no way you can record American history. There's no way that you can kind of qualify that statement. So let's just keep reading, and then I commented the whole thing, I crossed out I cut this whole first paragraph. So throughout American history, there had been thousands upon thousands of natural disasters that have affected our societies today. However, this research doesn't even begin to cover the thousands of disasters that occur in other countries as well as our own. So the reason why I cut it, as you can probably see as readers yourself, there's a lot of repetition, but the main problem is it's obvious. This is obviously a paragraph that the student wrote hastily and probably at like 4 a.m. So I just put too obvious. You cannot account for all of American or global history. So again, stick to specifics in your proposal and provide research. If you do those two things, you're going to have a lot more credibility in your scholarship, and you're not going to get a huge crossed out section and kind of a snarky comment from me that says, this is too obvious. All right, let's move on to the next paragraph. So in my study, I will be surveying my WVU English 102 class, which consists of about 30 students. So this I actually marked as good. It's specific. You guys should do the same thing. Once you transition, your first paragraph is going to be all about research for the most part. Remember those steps in the first video about the gap in the background information. All of that makes up your first paragraph. You switch into your second paragraph really when you start talking about your specific study, okay? And she said where, WVU, you could even spell it West Virginia University, that's fine. English 102, and then you guys will say like SurveyMonkey instead of the actual classroom, and which consists of about 30 students. So you will be serving 13 of your peers, because there are 14 of you total, if you need that number. Which again, the more specific, the better, because pretend like you're submitting this to a committee outside of this class. That will help train you for future proposals or future abstracts that you have to write, perhaps for your own fields when you conduct research. All right, the next sentence. I will take these surveys and interview, and then I put with X to specify the students at this time should have known who they were going to interview and why they were going to interview this person. You don't have to worry about interviews again, so just focus on the survey. You can talk about a couple of the survey questions you plan to ask, or why you think a survey would be valuable to your research other than the fact that I'm requiring it. Maybe think about the qualitative research paper itself. It's asking about human behavior or beliefs, so you need to find humans and then ask them about their behaviors or beliefs, which is the point of the survey. All right, I will take these surveys and interview with X and other information I find to research how different societies are affected. So here, I said stick to America, think more locally. Your peers will have experience about probably West Virginia, Virginia, or the surrounding areas. So you guys as a class are from further distances. However, you're not accounting for the world. You're not even accounting for America. You're saying that this sample size is emblematic of larger trends, okay? So in the research and me as a reader of your work, I will understand that you cannot account for everyone's opinion. So you're just saying within the sample size, which is emblematic of larger trends, this is what is being shown, like whatever research you're finding, whatever findings after you code the data. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about right there, you will after we get to the survey unit, okay? So the next part, in the article, and you can see here, I put quotation marks around because it's an article title. If it's the title of a book or an entire website like Google, then you italicize it. That's on your exploratory writing document under additional materials online. If the article, if the end comes, don't count on me. And then every time you mention scholarship, you mention, for the first time, you mention the first and the last name of the scholar, and then you mention a little bit about that person's title. We'll talk about that in just a second when we switch to source inclusion. All right, so in this article, this scholar brings to light the fear Americans have towards natural disasters. He does this in a humorous way to lighten the mood of how terrifying these diseases can be. Another article brings to light that some societies even believe natural disasters are God's way of punishing us. Therefore, natural disasters create fear in society. Okay, so she has some good information here. It just sounds like she's using it from her annotated bibliography, which is not easily woven into a proposal, because a proposal doesn't ask you to evaluate the source to say if it's credible or not. The proposal asks you what information are scholars presenting, and that should have actually, like I mentioned earlier, gone in this paragraph. Okay, so a couple of things I said to her here. Again, I already mentioned comment number 5 to give more specific information about why this person matters in your research. Number 6, using a direct quote would be more specific here. I am a huge proponent of direct quotes as long as you don't use too many. So too many would probably be more than 2 per paragraph. And that's just an arbitrary thing that I have, so it's not necessarily a rule, but if you have too many quotes, then it doesn't become your writing, and I'm basically grading your ability to integrate quotes. And if it's too few quotes, it means you're not basically using the source well enough or trusting the source to weave in the words of the author. And when you use quotes is basically when an author explains a concept in a way that either it has very specific wording that you can't really create a paraphrase for, it would change the meaning or the effect. That's when you direct quote. It could be beautiful wording like in a literary text, or it could be like scientific wording where the term itself, you can't really use synonyms to re-describe the term. All right. Is this from your annotated bib? So it's the same thing. Does this in a humorous way, blah, blah, blah. Because she's evaluating the source here, and I'm figuring that, again, she got tired, and she just pulled from her previous work, which that has already received a grade, and I would encourage you guys not to dip too much into the work. Don't transfer your work from one document to another because each document is serving a different purpose. The only kind of exception for that is a lot of the proposal will be good to include in the introduction of your qualitative research paper. All right, comment number 8. Again, the word specific appears. So obviously I really like that word. It's something, it shows me basically who is serious about the scholarship, who is serious about this class, who's serious about their research, and who can stick to just vague non-descriptions. How does this help show different sides to your research? And the last thing is the thing that I already mentioned. The research needs to go in the first paragraph. All right. Hopefully a dissection of this really weak proposal will help you guys create stronger proposals. So we'll probably save this for video, tomorrow's video when I'm talking about concision again. And this is basically the edited version of the 2 sample documents I gave you. So I'm going to show you what the students wrote before my edits, and then the versions that you guys read are the revised versions. But before that, we're going to talk about source inclusion. Okay, so on pages 50 and 51 of Jack, again the 8th edition, it talks about polishing and editing, MLA documentation, why and how we use it. So I'm not going to read that to you guys. That's part of your homework, but there are 2 parts, and you should have learned this in English 101 or even in high school. The first part is in-text citations. So in-text citations are what I was talking about with this student's paper. So in the article, blah, 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 all of this stuff, this is in the text, so that's what that means, in-text citation. The works cited page, which you do not need to include for your proposal, I repeat, the proposal does not require a works cited page, but your qualitative research paper will, okay? The works cited page is just the page that comes after to show what works or texts you cited in the text. Okay, in-text citations, works cited. Sometimes students don't make that connection, and I get a little confused as to why not. But there it is. So page 51 has a lot of the signal phrases or the attributive tags. The attributive tags, here are a couple more for you, and I'll put these documents online. Basically, they are different ways of saying the word said or says. Instead of saying like Jones says blank, the direct quote or whatever, you can have any number of these. And your ability to choose different words like emphasizes or disagrees or comments, that kind of helps your ethos, and it also creates just more variety in your text. It makes it easier to read and basically better to read. The source itself, so the where you got it from, like according to, and then the person, why this person has an authority, where is this person from. The third part is the actual material, so a direct quote or a paraphrase would be good here, and then the last part is an explanation. So why basically are you using this research in your paper? So this page, as well as all of these, I'm going to put this online for you guys to browse through it, but really this page and then page 51 have the most useful parts. So let me know if you guys have questions.